Alright, y'all, so we are back with some more top 10 TUR tier list shenanigans. Now, as always, mine does include Dokkan Fest exclusives and EZA Dokkan Fest exclusives, so we're kind of mixing the two together. A lot of people usually separate them, but I don't really see the need to at this point. And of course, this is with the update of the EZA Physical Super Saiyan 2 Goku and the STR Kid Buu, both incredible EZAs that do indeed fit this tier list pretty well, actually. Now, this might be the last tier list version of this in a while. It just does depend on what happens during anniversary. We know no new TURs will be like kind of given out in terms of, let's say, a new release. That's all going to be LRs. In terms of EZAs, last year was also all only LRs except for some banner units. So we got like 2 banner unit EZAs, I believe. So it could be the same this year, it could be different this year. We'll have to wait and see if they want to like just keep it as only LRs. Because if it's like a Super Gogeta, we'll see like Pikkon and Janemba, but if not, who knows? But in Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta TUR, right? We'll see. Now, I think there's not really much else to say. It'll be interesting to see how this changes up, I guess, post 10th anniversary, if we have to wait until the March Dokkan Fest. But for now, let's just hop right into things. And we're going to start things off with my number 10 spots, Goten and Trunks. I think that this character is overall just a very nice character. I do like mostly them being able to get this damage reduction here on the full Kamehameha team. I think in short events, you really do want that for them to perform well. And even on like turn 1, no build up, as long as they have that up, they are actually able to tank normals. I could say the issue could be against Janemba more so than Gogeta even, just because Janemba will attack more and he has a lower super attack chance. So, you know, if you're like floating this guy, it's very possible that Janemba even just supers them in slot 3, and that could be dangerous for them because again, they do want to either dodge or receive a few attacks to build up their extra stats and their extra dodge. But once they're able to get like at least, you know, 1 or 2 attacks built up, they start actually becoming a decently consistent character until they're fully built up. And even turn 1, they do some pretty good damage, right? They just have a built-in 80% chance to crit if you're on full Kamehameha just instantly, which is really, really nice to see. And, you know, they start off even just like triple 14 mil attack stats if they can, right? Really, really insane. Now, I think the only thing about this character is that they can't really get their unit super attack. That would be super useful for them and the team. It's just not really going to be something you see, and that also counts for their active skill. I mean, there are team builds you could build for this guy to actually get that. Unfortunately, like the new LR Gotenks, at the same time, like I like that he's just standalone, but him also not just being a fusing character does suck a little, just for that physical Goten and Trunks. This character is pretty decent though, you know, as a support character, so you could definitely run him, but not like definitive like, oh yeah, this guy is like good, he's just good, you know, right? And you know, maybe post 10th anniversary meta could shift him down. Overall, though, I like this guy. He's number 10 anyways. I think there's some other characters you can slide in here, but when we finish the list, we'll probably talk about them. Next here, we do have the STR Lord Slug, which him at 9 is really crazy. And I will say the next few parts of this tier list, you could exchange if you really want to. You can move them around for sure. I think Slug is at 9. He's just doing a lot of things at I would say a more consistent rate than what Goten and Trunks is doing, in terms of he has his reduction just like instantly when you have the demonic power category allies. But this is probably what, you know, may hold him back a little compared to other characters potentially, is this for what he's doing in exchange for it. I think he's doing really good in exchange for it though. Like it is a worthy condition, but demonic power right now, I'm still not gonna say is crazy. We do have some really good characters though. If we're running Lord Slug's variant though, we do really want full extreme class. You could get Glorio. I think you're just gonna run Glorio anyways. He's just too good not to run. But then outside of that, you do have to run, you know, if you have to have Buuhan on the team, I think for sure. And then, you know, from there, it's not really like a concrete good extreme class like 3rd version character you could run, like Int Buu. Well, I would say Int Buu actually does fit that, but on this version of the team, big bad bosses is really important, right? You want to get that big bad bosses, Thirst for Conquest link. That's the one thing I'm thinking about when it comes to Fat Buu, and he's pretty much the third character you have to run unless you're running some of the heroes characters. Mecha Gabora could fit pretty nicely, but again, he's not like the best option, right? He is just essentially a banner and an easy A at the end of the day. But he's healing, providing ki. He tanks all super attacks, essentially. At least in slot 2, he is a slot 2 character for the most part. He can have the Scouter, right, which is very useful. I think he does really well in the Goku Frieza fight. I absolutely love him in the Goku Frieza fight. Now, he can't, like, eat Goku and Frieza super attack specifically, especially at the lower HP level. I think, you know, if he's fully built up, let's say he has, like, a million defense start of turn, right, you know, you could see that pretty nicely with this Lord Slug. With his full 66% reduction, I think he could even just turn 1 live the or slot 1 live the Goku Frieza above 50% HP super attack, but under 50% HP is not gonna be happening. And other than that, you know, he does really well in the 17 and Frieza phase. If he gets locked, right, he's such a good character. There's so much you could talk about it that he's doing really nicely. The demonic power like support buff right here, this is also so good. But there's an issue with running superclass characters on the team. Like I said, they do get debuffed, and that could hurt. But these characters, if you're trying to run even like LR Future Gohan or like some of the like Beast Gohan, right, with the domain up, you'll lose damage reduction. It could be potentially an issue. But besides that, I like Slug. He's a gamer for sure. That's that's the best way I can describe him, I guess. We'll move on to the next spot though. We talk about Slug and Goten and Trunks a lot. You know, I think I want to get mostly to the main new characters, and we'll kind of focus on them. Slug's been out for a while, and I think everyone knows how good this guy is. At our number 8 spot, we have Fat Buu. I just brought him up. I think that this guy is still really good. I think in comparison to where I had it before, he was actually a little higher, and it's not really him becoming worse. I think it's just because of, you know, a lot of other setups and circumstances becoming better for other characters, if that would make sense. Now this guy, you know, he's gonna be aging better than probably most of the characters on this list, and the reason why for that is because, you know, he has the revive. He himself has to get revived, but once that happens, he does then on top of that get a Ghost Usher, and we've seen that is useful even in the Kid Buu burst mode event. Now, I don't want to talk too much about that because that is, again, potential future content, but this is talking about, like, you know, aging is still an important thing you can consider for how good a character is, because that's usually how good their design is tightly knit. And this Buu is one of the characters that can really hold his own in that fight, because he does, you know, he does stack up, right? You know, I don't think he's gonna get to a point where he tanks like an 8 mil super attack in the future, but still. And if we're talking about right now, this guy does fine, right? I mean, you could even realistically run him as a slot 1 character until he dies, right? He could be your slot 1 character, and when he gets the revive, he's able to get a pretty nice attack and defense boost right here, the guaranteed guard, and then another additional super attack. So that just means more stacking. These 30% stacks, you know, do build up over time, especially again Goku Frieza. And if you don't revive, he does have the turn 7 active skill still for the Ghost Usher. So even if you don't revive throughout the event of Goku Frieza, you're still able to get that just fine. In the Gogeta Janemba fight, just plop this guy slot 1, he instantly dies and gets rid of 2 turns for you very quickly. And especially in the Gogeta fight, that helps because by racing 2 turns of a Gogeta, that's 2 turns where he could just like have his buffs and really hurt you badly. But if this guy's like turn 1 slot 1, getting rid of that first turn Gogeta where his attack is at its max is really huge, because of the fact that, you know, over time, again, as you guys may know, in that Super Gogeta fight, he does get weaker. So that turn 1 is the definite most scary turn in that fight. And if you get to like turn 4, you know, racing turn 1 and turn 3, essentially, you're cooking, I think, pretty much well at that point with a lot more characters. So this Fat Buu could really carry you there. He's on a lot of good like extreme class teams. I think that's one thing about me putting him above Slug, is that I still think that in terms of this guy, he's able to be just put on uncontrollable power, Majin Buu Saga, right? Transformation boost, Kamehameha, right? He fits just so many of these different teams that you could just, you know, even without a leader skill realistically, but if you're running him on these teams, he does fit them quite well. I think his leader skill could be better, but that's really all I'd say. Like Lord Slug's leadership comparison, he has movie bosses and human deeds. Definitely a better overall selection, but I think Inpapu would just, brings it up a little higher for me just personally. Now for our number 7 spot, we do have the Tech Buuhan, and then I'll put Angel Super Saiyan 3 Goku here next, right? We'll just talk about them at the same time, just one after another. So Angel Super Saiyan 3 is at 6, and then Buuhan's at 7. No, Buuhan was higher last time on my list than Super Saiyan 3. It's really just because Majin Buu Saga is just so good. I'm sorry, like Majin Buu Saga restriction for this guy is no issue. And the thing about Buuhan is power absorption, is a little bit of an issue for his domain. Now in the Goku Frieza fight, I think getting this guy into Super Buu at the end, it gets crazy. It gets very nasty, and he does have this massive 30% buff with his domain. Like if Majin Buu Saga transformation boost or power absorption, right? A lot of those characters that you would run this guy with do actually fit that, like S-tier Kid Buu or the physical Buuhan, or again Infat Buu also does fit that as well. Like a lot of these pretty strong characters you could run. Power absorption, it just needs more, and I hope this is a category that gets buffed in the 2025 year. It's possible. I mean, maybe people are saying, what if Cell is part of Anniversary? Gohan and Cell, like part 2 of Anniversary. That does actually fit pretty nicely with, a Kamehameha theme, quote unquote. But if we're talking about right now, this team is not good. I mean, realistically, the team you'd run, with this guy, actually, in terms of power absorption, S-tier Kid Buu doesn't fit. And I think that is one thing that actually, is helpful that S-tier Kid Buu's out, but realistically doesn't really change that much for this guy's domain. Of course, it's pretty much just a turn 6 thing. Now in the Goku Frieza fight, if we're talking about that, turn 6 from start of battle, he could still use it. Put this guy slot 1, S-tier Kid Buu slot 2, sporting S-tier Kid Buu for 30% domain support. It gets pretty nasty. And yeah, no, overall throughout the event, he's still supporting a lot of these characters. Like even outside of, let's say, how do I explain it? Even if we take away power absorption, transformation boost, this guy's able to be still ran at uncontrollable power, demonic power. He does want one of these allies, is what I'm talking about, for his 50% support he's doing. And, and Broly actually fits this team. Tech Broly actually fits this team. They do indeed transform throughout the battle, in their intro, etc., etc. And the Broly team, this does work really well. If we're running Lord Slugs, like demonic power kind of team, you have physical a large number right there is one of the characters that will be able to get the support, right? Activated at the very bare minimum, right? So there's options there. And S-tier Kid Buu also does, again, fit that category like I was saying. So either way, that does end up working out pretty nicely. I just think Super Saiyan 3 Goku is a character, it's like, that she doesn't have to transform, really is pretty much it. He's just him like that. And he does not really consistently hit the Goku Frieza damage cap is one thing I would say. Excuse me, in the Attack Gogeta fight, he honestly is just like he's pretty much just a wall there, because in the Goku, and not the Goku Frieza fight, the Gogeta fight, he actually cannot damage Gogeta with the super attacks because they're a physical type super attacks. So he's pretty much just there being your slot 1 early on, which is still massive, but he's not doing really that much in that event specifically. In comparison, Buuhan, okay, if you get his turn 1 domain, that boy supers like 6 times and just like gets him well past like 50% HP turn 1. Could be really nasty. But no, I just think this guy overall, as a Saiyan character, I think that helps out too with the characters that he's able to be paired with. He's on probably, I mean, I would say he's on more relevant teams, but realistically, it's pretty much Majin Buu Saga and Kamehameha. Pure Saiyan doesn't have a leader. A Turtle School could be weird. You could definitely run Roshi, like this guy, and then another Majin Buu Saga Goku on Roshi's team. That could work out pretty well, but Accelerated Battle is another team that you could definitely use with this guy in like the Glorio team for sure. You could throw him on Glorio's team. You could throw him on Daima Goku's team. Both of those work, so there you go. Wait, he's on Daima Goku's team, I'm assuming, right? Daima Goku's Dragon Ball Seekers, and then another category, Transformation Boost. Actually, this guy is on Transformation Boost, is he not? He's not on Transformation Boost. Actually, that's really weird because he transforms in his intro. Whatever. Okay. We'll move on from these 5 characters here. Again, I think you could mix these characters around. But then I think this next spot is this physical Super Saiyan 2 Goku. I think he is a character. I wouldn't put him under Angel Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. Could you make the argument? I don't think so. No, I think this guy is one of these characters that feels like, yeah, I like 10th anniversary. They are built. You could make the argument for listing any of these guys, but I feel more concrete with what this guy's able to do. Now, the biggest issue with this character, and the reason why he's not higher, is because he's a transformation character, and this condition is not really the best. I think that it is an inconsistent condition, right? HP based conditions will always be inconsistent. It's not a thing you're like, yeah, I will always get this. I'll get this in certain situations, right? More so, like, it's not like turn 4. Oh, I can just always transform in turn 4. I always transform if I have these allies that I can control on the team, like, you know, even like Buuhan, or like even a domain. If you want a certain ally in the team, right? This is based off HP, which is really much based on the damage your opponent does to you. And it's weird because if you put these weaker defensive characters to where you could take the damage, I found in a lot of situations, even though I do get the transformation, I still end up losing, especially in like Goku Frieza, because of the fact that you know, I get myself at that low HP level to transform, but then I end up dying because, let's say, even Angel Super Saiyan 3 Goku, he may not, you know, be able to have his full damage reduction built up or a certain amount of time, depending on locking, depending on rotations. And that boy, you know, what if he gets shredded, right? He sometimes he could just die in slot 1, right? If you're like at 200k HP, bosses sometimes, you know, even in slot 1 will deal like 300k plus to the guy, which, you know, he can still obviously survive in normal situations, but when you're trying to get an low HP condition, that's where it's a little weird. There are situations where I've seen people get this guy turn 2 and he doesn't have this up, which sucks quite a bit. They didn't make this like on first appearance and 1 HP 77% or more, or I guess that's a better way, so it's both of them. Which means that if you get this guy, like, let's say turn 2 and the Gogeta fight, Gogeta double supers you, you get this guy in the second rotation, he doesn't have this, which hurts him so bad in that event. Not only does he have to wait some time to actually transform, this just, yeah. Now, if he does have this up, I actually have seen him, like, turn 3 Gogeta super attack. He actually is able to live that. I've seen him take 100k damage from the 17 and Golden Frieza super. Of course, that is in slot 2 once he's able to get, like, I think he got 2 supers that turn. And only taking 100k in that situation, I would say, you know, for just a pre-transformation character, pretty decent, right? And he's not doing bad damage. He's doing, it depends, but I could say on average, like 16 to 17 mil range. You know, you could get higher with support, plus the great chance to crit. And this is speaking at the rainbow level with attack equips. A lot of these teams are really good link set. Now, if you do transform this guy, he's absurdly busted. He's just doing so much damage reduction, dodge, plus the guard on his first transformation, and he could do so much damage if you get the good RNG with him. But that's another layer. These are both high chance to become super attacks additionals. He does have 2 of them, and it's not like you're never going to see that, but I've had a couple of turns where this guy supers, then does 2 normals, and then he can get hidden potential system super. Sometimes that can also be a normal attack. It is these 50-50 shots. Now, I think more averagely, if we're going to say my overall experience with this guy, he does get pretty often at least 2 super attacks in a turn. It's not common for me to get this super normal, but do keep in mind that can happen, and that kind of hurts his point of a damage unit. I mean, I've had the situation where I had to get my HP low because of this character to transform. Then he did a super into 3 normals, and then because my HP was low, by forcing this guy's transformation, I ended up dying. Which, you know, this is a character where you could, like, especially in Goku Frieza, Angel Super Saiyan 3 tanks the tanks the super attack in slot 1. Then you have this guy just like go in and he could just shred Goku Frieza, or he could just choose not to. You also do have to land the great chance to crit, which it is 70%, but if you actually don't land that, he actually won't do damage to Goku and Frieza unless he's hitting like a 80 mil attack stat because he's physical type. Something like that, right? Alright, it's like 60 to 80 mil range. It's a lot of damage a physical character has to like hit in order to even damage without a crit. So luckily he does have pretty good chances to crit in, and he's on a lot of these teams. I just like, if we're talking about him in Tech Beerus, I think Tech Beerus is next on my list, by the way. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm just gonna segue to that right away. I just think Tech Beerus is a character where he's just Tech Beerus, right? And I think that is super useful to me. He has a lot better restrictions than even Age of Super Saiyan 3 Goku, because Age of Super Saiyan 3, whilst he is like turn 1 tankier than this guy, the thing is that this guy has a lot of extra categories, and I really do like that quite a bit. And he doesn't lose his defensive utilities if you put him in like slot 2 or slot 3. Whilst, you know, Age of Super Saiyan 3, turn 1 will still have basically 100% reduction in the extra damage. I like that this guy could still be used as a floater character, just kind of moving around supporting the team. But in many situations, or at least I would say arguably pretty much all situations in the game, you're able to comfortably have this guy as a slot 1 tank character with his guard and 60% reduction. I think the only situations where this guy could instantly die is turn 1 tech Vegeta super attack just like snipes this guy and he's just toast, right? That's happened to me once, right, for sure. And then I think under 50% Goku Frieza like normals, because let's say it depends, because that's if you get the rage mode up. Let's say if you get the rage mode up, then you get it done. If you're under this and he has no reduction, obviously he could just die in slot 1. If you have this up, he should still be fine unless he tanks, or he would receive like a lot of those different normal attacks, right? Like if he gets like 4 normals before he attacks, then that gets a situation where he dies as well. But if you have his full damage reduction up and you do have to be a full HP. I've seen this guy eat the super attack for, well, I say eat, but he survives the super attack for 600k. But he's still able to live, right? And I think that's a really important thing as your slot 1 tank, allowing your slot 1-2 characters to, or I say slot 1, so allowing your slot 2 characters to go ahead and do that additional damage and finish the boss off, because it is the team game, and this guy's role as a tank character, he's also, again, supporting, right? Making extreme class allies tankier. If you're running on Tech UI Goku's team, it makes them have more stats. And I see a lot of disdain for this character recently, because I see a lot of people say he doesn't really have teams, and I made a whole video on this yesterday, so I don't want to go too deep into it, of course. I mean, Tech Broly Movie Boss's team, he works on Lord Slug's Movie Boss's team. I've seen people bring up, oh, he doesn't work on Movie Bosses because in Broly won't get his domain, but in Broly is uncontrollable power. If you're running Movie Bosses, you're not necessarily even gonna potentially use it in Broly, because there's a lot of characters that may not fit uncontrollable power that you may need to use. Like, you know, Broly Trio could fit that kind of aesthetic. We have Lord Slug, who also does not fit Movie Bosses, though I guess being fair, Lord Slug is his own team, so it depends, right? I guess, because if I was gonna run Movie Bosses, I wouldn't really care as much about in Broly's domain, because I would just rather run double in Broly, if that makes sense, right? And you could run just double Tech Broly, that could be fine. Either way, you'll still be able to just kind of do your thing. But I think mostly in Lord Slug's Movie Bosses team, this guy is able to still do well there. You're still able to get the domain restriction, things like that with Lord Slug pretty easily with Tech Beerus on the team. Tech UI Goku, I mean, if we're running like Realm of Gods kind of universe survival saga, even then, besides Age of UI, there's not a other character I trust as much as Tech Beerus, and it's not one on this team until Tech UI transforms. Because like, who would you trust more as a slot one on this team? Blue Evolution Vegeta. The thing about him is he has to build up. He has to get attacks to build up. Compared to, I like Tech Beerus receiving the attacks building up as a slot one character like that, just because that is, well, the thing is that in comparison to having to attack, at least Tech Beerus is still building up before he even has to attack, which is really important. Whilst the Tech Vegeta does need to get these attacks off. Now he does build up the damage reduction, but Tech Beerus having that damage reduction and guard instantly is a better situation. I guess Vegeta does guard turn 1, so it really is dependent, huh? You could make the argument. Blue Evolution Vegeta is still so good, man. I think he's a character that kind of has not necessarily gone under the radar, but I don't really see people talk about him as much anymore. I would say, like, if we're talking turn 3 and forward, I much prefer Beerus and Salmon, though. That's another thing. So I don't know. He's on a couple of these teams, right? He's not on a huge amount of teams, but where he's able to extend his power is just really useful. And again, with the rage mode, you can just simply cancel out a boss super attack and protect the entire rotation for that turn. So that's also really fun, really good. So there you go. That's me. Now I would say I do like S tier Kid Buu above Beerus right here, and I thought about it. There's a chance putting Beerus above Kid Buu, but I use them more. And Kid Buu is just really dumb. I think what he's doing overall for the team, without having to worry about a lot of these restrictions like with transformations or anything like that, you do need to build the team around him to in a sense. But this is not really difficult to get right now, like Majin Buu Saga or Majin Power. On the teams you're running, this guy is not like asking for a lot. Same with like running this Beerus on these teams, or Ajo Super Saiyan 3 running him on Majin Buu Saga. Like, this restriction is not asking for a lot, and it's just on the team, so you don't even have to worry about getting them on rotation. Even, you know, kind of similar to what I was saying with Slug, like it's on the team, while it's like Ajo Super Saiyan 3 or Buuhan, or even the Tech Beerus has to worry about them on rotation. This guy's just kind of cooking there with his full, turn 1, he has 70% damage reduction. He heals you 20% at the end of turn. He has unarmed super attack nullification. So against Goku Frieza, even if you set this guy slot 1, he has a 70% chance to cancel their super attack. Once he's built up, this guy could do I've seen this guy with his active skill do triple 40 mil attack stats with the high chance to crit. Now this additional is a high chance to be super attack, but you can get his additional super attack off as well. I think it's more common to see this guy only get one super in comparison to Super Saiyan 3 Goku, but at the same time, this guy is a character that you have to transform into. This character is just doing his own thing, and he's not a character where you have to risk the team dying to do well. I think is another comparison directly to that Super Saiyan 3 Goku, why I like this guy better. Now, I would argue, at least in my view of how I like my units, he does technically get worse. As I think, in general, objectively, defensively, he gets worse as a slot 1 character when he loses this buff right here after receiving 6 attacks or more in battle. Then after you could use his active skill, that does give him a 20% permanent buff though. So again, if we're talking about him on rotation with Tech Buuhan, if you're able to avoid potentially getting too many hits for this character, and then you reach turn 6 and then you get Kid Buu's active and Buuhan's active, you can kind of flip the two around and get Super Buu slot 1 and this guy in slot 2. And Buuhan is definitely this guy's best partner because he's providing him 50% support. He's providing them all these links Majin. I think Brutal Beatdown as well, Big Bad Bosses. So many of these links he's actually getting from Tech Buuhan. In fact, let me actually bring up the linking tool right here, and we could just take a direct look here. Where is this Buuhan? Right here. 4 links in both of these forms. Even this guy does fit there. Even Int Buu is sharing 4 links with him. So, this guy's just good. Like I think he's just a very strong, consistent character that doesn't even necessarily turn one have to worry about this build up. Over time, he's not going to be able to sit in slot 1 anymore, but like as a slot 2 character with 70% reduction, he's also unkillable. Similar to Tech Beerus, where I think people don't realize if you don't run around Tech Beerus slot 1, you don't have to. He's not restricted to slot 1. Then on super attack, he gets another 160% stats. So if you're into this guy in slot 2, or even as a slot 3 floating support character that has the rage mode twice, like he's not killable. At least right now in the game. He's like, if you're running him as a slot 2 or slot 3 character, he's just not gonna die, right? Same thing with this Kid Buu. He's also just simply not going to die. And that's just what it is. I've only died once with this Kid Buu. And actually no, I think I've died twice. First was instant Gogeta turn 1 super attack, which I think that kills most characters in the game anyways. The same thing with Tech Beerus. And then secondly was against the Goku Frieza super under 50%. He did not actually nullify it. I put him there to test him just because it's like, oh well, it's his video, it's his showcase. I want to see, you know, him nullify and just do that, or if he would not nullify, how much he would take. He actually does take about 1 million damage there. That's with his active skill buff off him without the damage reduction. I think if you have the 70% reduction, he probably could live, is what I'm thinking, with the 70%. Because 70% is such a huge number. With the amount of starter turn defense this character would actually be able to end up getting, but I guess I don't know for sure. Did I get that in my video? I may or may not have, but Kid Buu, really good, really good. Then for my last tier list, I already had these two in 1 and 2, but it is Daima Goku and Glorio. I think that a lot of people will not like how high I have Daima Goku personally, and I understand it depends on how you view these characters. I think these 4 are interchangeable to me. These 4 are interchangeable, and then I think Goten and Trunks doesn't necessarily 100% fit. I mean, you could, but it's like I don't like this. I wouldn't mind it, but it's like when we start doing like this, especially, I'm like, let's still, right? You know what I mean? So that's why I'm kind of like, Goten and Trunks is kind of right there as the gatekeeper. Now Daima Goku, I think he's a bit underrated in the community, I would argue personally. This guy turn 1, he doesn't have these issues that a lot of these characters under him will actually end up having, like again, Kid Buu turn 1 against some of these, like, you know, Gogeta bosses, or even Janemba. He's type advantage, I guess that does help. Beerus against Janemba turn 1 could actually still get some pretty significant damage, and this guy's not really even a slot 1 character at all. But this guy with his 90% dodge turn 1 with 50% reduction, like, I think the only situation I'd be scared of is obviously him not dodging Janemba's super attack, and then he would get one shot because he's an in character. But that's mostly because he's an in character. With 90% dodge chance, you're not going to get screwed mostly, and he's not going to take damage from normals, especially because he does build up with each attack he would receive, right? Well, it's just offensively is what I should say. Defensively, he gets that instantly is what okay, to be honest, I confused the two real quick, but it's even better that he gets the 200% instantly. That's one thing that people don't realize. He gets this buff instantly when receiving an attack, and that's something you don't see during the turn. This defensive buff as well as something you don't see at the start of turn. So he's getting a lot of defense in the middle of the turn that you don't see start of turn. So you may see this guy at 400k start of turn, but then he'll get this buff, which is starter turn buff, so that's even gonna go higher. Then he'll get this multiplicative 200% defense buff, which will, again, essentially, you could you could triple the number. Like with the 200%, you essentially triple the number that would be. So if that 400k goes up to like 500k, then that 200% will turn that to 1.5 mil. Then he will get this multi-turn buff right here for himself, and he supports all allies 41% for 2 turns. Actually, whilst you can run this guy as a slot 1, because, you know, he's a 70% dodge character with the damage reduction, I actually really like this character as a slot 2 character. He works really well. He's multi-turn supporting. He's able to triple super, so you can get 3 stacks of these. That lets like a character like Tech UI Goku, by the way, go absolutely crazy. His team is not crazy, but it's not bad. I mean, you could run good setups on his team. I'm not like a biggest fan of it, but yeah, I think the biggest issue I have with this guy is this. Can this stop? I think this is kind of whatever. You mostly will see it in the Goku Frieza fight, but man, I mean, you can get this guy to start hitting hard. I feel like this could have just been crits though, honestly. But the active skill on top of that, he's actually able to do some very serious damage at the end of the fight. Not as much as like what this guy would be able to do in Super Saiyan 3, but I think this guy would be a stronger defensive character on top of that. Another thing is I had this guy type disadvantage live the 17 and Golden Frieza super attack. I showed that in a previous video, so that's another thing where I'm thinking like, yeah, this guy's like, he's able to be really, really good. Huge fan for this character. I think another thing is he's unrestricted with categories. You don't have to worry about categories. You don't have to worry about HP restrictions. You don't have to worry about most things. Just have this guy in Star 1 or Star 2. And duh, I think this guy is easily a character that can fit that. This is the only restriction. Even then, it's not bad. I don't think it's like the most mind-numbing thing. It's just a little annoying. And Glorio's Glorio. I mean, he's doing everything. So, yeah, he's just doing everything. I don't know. It's just Glorio. It's Glorio. I think you read his kit and you just understand, right? And especially when you use him and see the damage numbers he's able to also do. It gets really stupid, man. I don't know. The only weakness for this guy is against teams, but like he just carries everything. So yeah, that's what I would do. I talked about earlier, like people you could sub in at 10. I would say it's tough. Maybe in Buuhan, but not really. I mean, there's honorable mentions. I got rid of honorable mention this time because like you could make an argument for a lot of these characters at 11 or something. So that's why I didn't really care too much. I hate this guy though. I'm not a fan of, like, the more I use this guy, I'm not a fan of him. Poor guy. I don't know. When you transform him, like mods, is there like mods in Vegeta's logo in here specifically? Because where would it be? It would be up here, right? I don't know if there's a logo for that match in Vegeta specifically, but I can't find it. The tag Majin Vegeta, dude. Dang it, it's not appearing. Okay, but let's say if he was Tech Majin Vegeta. Like around here. Like 6-ish is what I would say. Maybe even higher. It depends on how much you like him. But he's a Rainbow Orb Changer. That's something that a lot of these characters up here do not do. Pretty much no character here Rainbow Orb Changes. I think that's important to consider. But yeah, because I wanted to bring him up because I know he's like a, not contentious, but like he is a character that I think some people will rank higher and lower depending on how they have experienced his transformation. Me personally, I hate it. So, well, let me know what y'all thinking. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.